You need just a few materials, various and sundry things. This is my bag o' stuff, and it has Scotch tape. This here is really kind of fun stuff. This is masking tape. So if you're doing, say, pick stitching and you want it to be even, this is the tape you use. You get this at theatrical supply places. They use it on sets, like movie sets, TV sets. It doesn't have a lot of adhesive on the back, so it doesn't stick, so it's not going to damage your fabric. And my favorite chalk, this is by Perfection Master Crayons. It's called Slow 999 chalk. What I really like about this particular chalk is that it marks the fabric and then you hit it with a little steam and it disappears. It disappears with humidity. One thing I've discovered with this is that if you're marking and it's raining outside, you need to work fast because it will disappear. Otherwise, it will disappear, I think, in 96 hours.
Is it wax or soap?
No, it's like a clay chalk, so you could use it on silk and it doesn't leave an oil spot. Beautiful, lovely chalk. I love this chalk. I have, I think, a case of it. Then, okay, anything else in here? I usually keep several threads. I have an extra rotary cutter blade because you always need them. And this is horsehair braid. This is the 1/2-inch wide horsehair braid. I just keep this in here because you just never know when you need a little bit of stiffening.
I guess not.
We could take that in a number of ways.
Have horsehair will travel.
Yes, have horsehair will travel. And let's see what else. Pencil sharpener, because you need a pencil sharpener.
Absolutely.
So as you can see, there's so much in here, and it's amazing how much this little bag carries. And in here, cash register tape. If you're sewing silk, if you're sewing any kind of really limber or loose fabric that you would normally sew with paper, it's much easier to have cash register tape because it's easy to tear, it's very thin, and it's easily portable. You don't have to carry a whole big sheet of tissue paper. I learned that from my friend Linda Maynard. Then there is, I know, all sorts of stuff in here.
Oh, yes.
Tracing carbon. You always need tracing carbon, longer rulers, and I call this my Barbie rotary cutter mat because it is about that size. So.
You have a whole sewing
and
room
I have
in
a little.
here.
It's true, it really is. And then a little teeny tiny quilting ruler because you just never know.
That's right.
Yes. So, I'll just leave these out here for now. And okay, this is a shaving brush. And I keep the rubber band on it to keep the bristles stiff. I gave it a haircut, gave it a flat top. I use this for getting chalk marks out of fabric. You know, there are times you try to brush the chalk out and sometimes the chalk just doesn't go away, but there's something about the bristles being rigid like this and having the flat surface on the top that really gets the chalk out. A workaround is a stencil brush, but what I like about this is you don't have the metal fitting around the bristles that you could snag something on. And also it's small, it's short, it fits in my
Like a
fits in my
little
case.
tiny whisk broom.
Yeah,
sort of.
absolutely. So then moving up here, these particular pens, these are the disappearing ink pens that you buy at the office supply, and I've just recently discovered these. I don't use them all the time, but there are times, generally I would use these in areas where they don't necessarily show in the finished garment. I just think it's wiser because they haven't been on the market long enough to know whether or not they will impact the fabric. So I tend to use them in places where they're hidden, but they're just good to have. And coming up here to this area, I have the two tracing wheels, the one with the pointy wheel and the wheel with the nubs. Most people ask, why do you have two tracing wheels? And I reply, the one with the pointy wheel is more for pattern making and paper, whereas the one with the dull, rounded nubs is more for fabric. If you tried marking fabric, especially satin, with the pointy one, you would damage the surface. It would poke holes in the fabric. That's why I have the two different ones.
So you can trace off a pattern with this one.
Right, and you don't even need carbon paper. If you have a cardboard or a rotary cutter mat underneath,
Sure.
you just bear down and the points will leave little dimples that you can then mark in later with a pencil.